Hello, welcome to the Reframing Mindset podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to Reframe Mindset podcast. My name is Constant Brooks. This episode is one of those considering episode again. It's going to be a very dark episode, but it's one of those things. When it reaches, the thing about it is that when it reaches point to kind of accept that reality and then see it happen in real time, then it begins to ponder. Because as I said, one of my grandmother passed away, and actually going to the funeral and such like that, and it's one of those things where it's as it's one of those things that kind of questions your faith or everything that you kind of believe in such like that, because you grow up with, you were raised by someone, and you built up this belief that okay, of you believe that okay, yes, this person had bring me through a lot and she is so strong, and then eventually old age just happens. Old age just happens, and it's like you can't do you couldn't do anything about it. Or is that you maybe could, but you weren't, you being so young weren't in the position to actually do anything. You just have to just watch it. You have to just be like, bro. And that's what she always told me, when I left university and stuff like that. Be like, bro, she lived her life and stuff like that. So most of the stuff where I could try to help her do, there's not really much I could do in my position. I was basically broke as a joke and stuff. And so the perspective. I know that I made it somewhere, and then boom, she, I made it somewhere. But the perspective was that she was there to witness a lot of me changing and stuff. But when I see her go, it felt like it kind of felt like, bro, she barely did see me anything. Because what happened was that, when I left out this last time to actually start to build up myself, it was, you know, it was different this time. So now when she's gone, I was having this vision, be like, okay, a lot of, you have this vision, be like, okay, I see this vision, and then boom, it shattered. It shattered the reality, be like, bro, you're going to the funeral, and I'll be like, bro, just just few years ago or such, she was telling me that, bro, this, she was telling me that, bro, all this stuff about her faith and stuff, and then boom, it happening in reality, and then it'd be like, you know, you have to accept the reality and be like, and this is one of those things where it's like a real test. It's a real test to say, okay, this is your chance, this is your life now, and stuff like that. And I mentioned it before. So the next thing is basically is that what this topic is episode is about is, I went to the funeral, and the topic is, what will people testify about you at your funeral? And the reason why I say is that because I've grown up, my grandmother raised me, and she was an avid Christian, and she lived 90 years of full life. And at her funeral, all people could testify from she was young up until now that she was, you could see a lot of things, various things about her, not bad, not bad or negative about her, but she, but one thing, not negative things about her, but one thing everyone could always um mention about her was that she was always strict with her Bible for 90 years, and I was just there for 26, and everybody there could testify, be like, bro, she was with the Bible from you know from from small up until her end, and it's one of those things where it be like, what will people say? It's one of those things where you grow up and be like, and people think like, okay, going to heaven or hell or such like that. If one person I could actually say, okay, make me believe that, okay, at least if I could at least say, oh yeah, at least she is going to heaven, you know, or if not, if it does exist, it's like because everybody could testify, be like, yo, this person is about the Bible. That's one thing people can testify to, be like, it's about the Bible. So that's one of those things that, what about you? It doesn't have to be about the Bible, but you know, you eventually you'll grow up, you'll live a full life. And then when your life ends and you said, okay, I lived a full life. I lived a full life. What will the people that you dealt with all this full life say about you at the end? That's one of the thing about it. What will all these people say about you at the end? But like, and the thing about the funeral is that people from all over that that you've spoken in years and stuff will just come, because will just come and such, and all of them will come and testify and say, okay, this and that about this person, and all of them could come and said, you either love or hate my grandmother over some either agreement or disagreement about the Bible. There's nothing else. That's the only thing people could always say negative about her, was that you she made you had disagreements about her around the Bible. There's nothing else you can say about her or anything like that. She doesn't really, so that's one of those things where like, yo, you, and that's a 90-year solid reputation of the Bible, of a person dealing with the Bible. And that's a real life case where you be like, yo, that's a real life case of 90 years testimony of people saying, yo, this person is about the Bible. So that's one of those things. And the thing about it is that also, made me ponder as well. So 90 years of a full life. And when I was growing up, and even when I left university and stuff, my 3 years, and she was in her old, her 80s, in her 80s, growing up and such, what I realized was that she was still studying the Bible. She was still there studying, learning new things, usually taking different watch listening to Christian radios and such like that. And it was one of those things where it'd be like 90 years of passion about the Bible. Would I have a 90-year passion about something, maybe science or such like that, or stuff? You can't tell. That's the thing. But my grandmother did have 90 years passion and such, and said, not to say that 90 years passion about the Bible, but not to say she lived a perfect life, or perfect life. She said that she backslid and stuff like that. But for 90, she was passionate about the Bible and stuff. So it's like you can't, no, even though you can't say it's a full 100% on her life, your testimony could be like, yo, this person is about the Bible and such. It's just one of those things where it be like, yo, you have yeah, you can't. One thing I realized going through various phases of my life is that a lot of life-threatening things will happen, and you might survive it and such. And each life thing will just test you, your resolve and such. Because you know, looking at my life, I'm 26 now, and there's a lot of life threatening things that I've been through. Lot. And I'm still here. And more, anything about it, I'm wiser and stronger. I was a weak person growing up, and I'm wiser and stronger now. That's something. That's something. And, and the thing about it that, so if I live to see 90 years, that would be 90 years of life threatening or things experience, good and bad experiences and such like that. Each of those years will test my resolve and such, and then I'm losing as I go older. I'm losing the crutch of I'm losing the crutch. I'm using the crutch of the child. So the child had the crutch of the family and such like that. Had the crutch, and that's where the perspective comes into it. Where my grandmother younger would have the crutch, have her family starting off, and then boom, she lost those crutch, and then had to start to grow up, and then boom, she then started her family, and then boom, her family became, as she grew older and stuff like that, she did in the work, and then put them in a better position so that boom, in her older age, they could be their crutch, her crutch, up until her end, and then boom, no, I'm here, and then so it will be a similar cycle as me. The older I get, the crutch that I had is just being lost, and then you will just eventually build your family or such, and then they will be you put in a work to actually put them in a better position. Then boom, they become your crutch, and then boom, that's how the cycle goes. And then when it ends, your children are such that grow up, and you're telling them your beliefs. You're telling them that, okay, believe in this and such that when you eventually gone, and then people come and testify about your family, about your father, mother, or such like that. Your children go to your funeral and be like, people there and be like, of all the things I could say about your dad, or such, he was this and such. 90 years track record of this or that. That that is something that's like a good resume to say, okay, yes, at least give me a pass into heaven or such like that. It must give me a pass into heaven. So that is just one of those things where it's not me trying to convince you about heaven or anything like that. It's just me convince you that it's our way of me to saying you have to you can't tell if your life is be long or short. But you have when you find your passion, you have the chance to maybe live a long life. Find a life, you have to actually spend the time to actually build up your passions, so that you when you go in your older days, in your retirement years, you can basically just chill back and enjoy your passion until the end. And when you end, people can say, of all the things that she lived a full life, living her passion. I you know if you read the Bible and understand what a Christian living life is, and you will say, bro, that's a very unfulfilling way of living, because there's a lot of restrictions. But my grandmother did it for 90 years and such like that. For 90 years, and she's gone through and seen a lot of changes. She's seen Obama became president, and a black person becoming president. She saw so many changes in times, and so she traveled various countries and such. So it's like, and not only that, she's gone through many uh, world altering situations. 2008 housing crash, uh pandemic, epidemics, and such like that. And she outlasted a lot of them, and just boom, she died of old age. Just died of old age. So it's just one of those things where you be like, bro, it's one of those episodes where like, bro, life is ahead of you. There's a lot of life ahead of you. So it's like it's one of those things where you be like, and my grandmother said it as well. When she always spoke about, the colonel did not start the chicken stuff until 75. She told me about that, or whatever age it was. Even I saw until it was really old. So it's never too late to build your passion and such. You know, yeah. So it's like one of those things where people will meet you at your different point in journey. But when your journey ends, you're going to have people coming from all parts of your journey, and what they're going to say, what they're going to say, that's something you have to be like, yo, that's something interesting you have to really think about. Mhm. So, yeah, that's basically it for this episode. Thank you for listening. I look forward for the next episode. Mhm. I know, and still have one more thing never got to say is that, is one, as I said, she's been even her 90s, 80s and such. She's still even her 90s when she's at her deathbed. She's still taking her time learning the Bible. And what happened was that, you know, when she got older in her last days, lost the ability to actually do like read the Bible or stuff like that. But she had, because she took so many time learning the stuff. When she lost the ability to actually take the time to actually go down and read the Bible, she knew a lot of it, so she could have it safe keep with her and such like that. That's. So when I look at that, that's her. That was the thing that brought her through, those 90 years, and in the end, you know, when she had lost the ability to actually do that, having it with her, kind of keep her up until the end. And then you say, okay, yeah. And then the thing about it is that even how many years, she's still learning new things in the Bible. That show you how complex this Bible thing is. So it's another thing for, people atheists can go and and try to spend 90 years of their life trying to what do you call it, de or decode or debunk the Bible or stuff like that. Or you can spend 90 years trying to understand it, because if think about it, her 90 years of doing it, and she would still tell her that there's still more left to be done or stuff. That's what one of her things she said, before she go. Still more left, because one part of the Bible, lean not on your own understanding. She did all she can. You have to push through. That's what the Christianity thing is. Very true. The Bible, different people are just ordained by God to actually just push the thing forward. And as you go through life, different religion will try to fight or stuff like that. But that's not really Christianity. It's about the fighting and stuff. Just us trying to get the vision out, get the vision back, and such. That's how it goes. She did her play, and I can say, oh, she lived a good life, and she died, oh, peacefully, with God in her heart. you know and that's it's a wild thing, bro. It's a wild thing to actually grasp, and it's something wild. I know why the reason it's wild is because I'm not rich as I want to as yet. So you read that, the thing about it is that if I, for example, had a car or such, could basically just drive out and reminisce and stuff like that. But I don't have it as yet. So I have to just take the time, sit down, and that's basically just internalize these stuff because the thing about it is all the stuff that she taught me it would take me years to really understand the full depth of all those stuff she's telling me. It take years because what happened was that when I went to the funeral, I see a lot of her family that she grew up with, and I met those. I know heard her. I met of those families throughout my 26 years with her. You know, I've gone through various phases with her. And the thing about it is that as you grow older, I might get acquainted more with those families as well, and then they will tell me more about her and be like, "Oh, you know, I did not know." You know, she told me. You'd be like, "Oh," then you can get a new revelation to say, "Oh, I didn't know this. This was, you know." So as I said, she said she did not live a perfect life, and there was a point in time where she was before she was baptized and stuff like that. So that's it's not. Then you learn. Then you will learn more about it and be like, "Oh my God, bro, this was her. You know, this was her from her perspective and such like that." So as I said, you know, she's gone now, and then you're here. Says that there's so much more to internalize from her message, and then your journey as well. So it's like, yeah, that's a fascinating thing and weird thing about life, bro. It's ever continuing. It's ever continuing, and it's something where I put this in that perspective to end it. You know, she wasn't a scholar by any institutional standards. You know, she went to school and stuff like that. But you know, she not no university graduate or a scholar or stuff like that. But she was really in depth in her Bible, and not only in her Bible, life experiences. And what something people don't realize was 90 years of life experiences to end is really as valuable or even more valuable than you know at this point. But I'm saying, well, I would say more valuable, but it is as valuable as getting a degree as such because she have one thing about life is that nothing is new under the sun. So if you make that 90 years of life experience pass without really internalizing some of the things that she talked about, then you, when she left and gone, then you, when the same situation that she would have went through and had to learn how to experience, and then she told you about it, and then you hearing it, you will go through that same struggle, and then both fail, and then both you meet her in the afterlife, and you'll be like, "Oh my God, bro, I told you about this. I told you about this," and then you come. This is how you end, you know. So yeah, so it's one of those things where you know the that's something I was taught for as well. Respect your elders because elders have gone through a lot, so their life experience are very valuable to building a future, a founding a good future. You have to learn about the roots, the elders that built it before, so that you can not, so you can learn from their experiences and then build on that as well for a more resilient future. So that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the importance of history. That's the importance of history. History is not you is not really to learn as a learn. It's good to learn, but to take time to understand the foundational so that you can maybe try to erase the mistake of the past to build a more solid foundation to say, okay, we can erase that history. Not really erase, but say, okay, when that history thing pops up again, we know how to deal with it good now, so that we can stop dealing about that part of it of history and then start to move on to the future and stuff like that and stuff. So that's how you have to do it. You know, that's how you have to do it. And ah, I know what I'm speaking about. I'm putting in perspective 90 years, bro. That's a lot of years. I'm feeling tired already. I'm just 26. So who knows what the future holds, bro? I'm tired already. I'm just 26, and she lived 90 years, raised so many families and stuff like that. So, bro, who knows? So, thank you for listening, and look forward for the next episode. Mhm.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.
Time clock and stuff, because I guess that's another important part of um the business and stuff. You have to have a way to actually track the productivity of the employees that you have, and this is one of the weird part of it in the sense, because what happens is that the thing about science is it's research, and that's what basically science is research. So if you're actually going to turn to a business, all the typical business rule has to really kind of be um it had to be kind of tweaked for science, because what happens is that while most business is profit driven in making money and stuff, people don't realize that